Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I tell you what, this show is called A Glitch in the Matrix for a reason, because I usually glitch out in some way, and it usually starts right at the very beginning. So thank you guys so much for being here today. Man, do I have a fantastic show for you guys. We have Nick Sylvester here in the studio today, and gosh, we have a lot to talk about. We have not seen Nick in a couple of months, and he's always got great information. And I love bouncing ideas off of Nick to get his, like I said, get his opinion on some of these current events that we've had going on and more. Okay, so I hope you guys are having a great day. And yeah, we've got, gosh, I got some more shows lined up for you guys this week. So please come back tomorrow night and on Saturday. And I do want to let you guys know I'm going to be at a UFO conference this weekend. If anybody wants to come see me, up in Blue Ridge, Georgia, I am speaking about UFOs, of course, over at Fannin County. That's in Blue Ridge, Georgia, up in the mountains. It starts at 11 a.m. at the Fannin County Family Connections. And the proceeds to this, you do have to buy tickets to get in. You can pay at the door, but all the proceeds go to the food bank in Fannin County. And so it's a great cause. They're going to have lots of raffles. And we get to talk about Bigfoot and UFOs with some of my research friends. And so it's going to be a great time. If you guys don't have anything else going on Saturday, y'all come up and see me or come down and see me. It's going to be great. Okay. All right. Also, if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and check out my archives and whatnot, please go over to thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my shows there. And all of my social media links and everything are listed there on my website. Also, if you'd like to support the work, we got the Patreon and my Etsy shop. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. And I appreciate all of my members of Patreon and all of my channel members. Oh my gosh. I just put out a video a couple of days ago, and I'll be putting more of those out here in the near future. We got more videos, exclusive content for my YouTube channel members. It's called the Hunt Club. So thank you guys so much for your support with that too. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and get the show started, y'all, because we've got Nick here, and it's not every day we get Nick Sylvester on the show. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so we're going to be talking today about government cryptid cover-ups, recent and future disclosure events, underground warfare, deep underground military bases, hybrid programs, cryptids, maybe even Space Force, whatever comes up today. Nick Sylvester is a leader in the truther community. He co-hosts The Bridge with Nick and Dylan over on Rumble. You guys might recognize Nick from being on a TV show back in the day, not too long ago. Please help me welcome to the show our good friend, Mr. Nick Sylvester. Hey, Nick.
Hey, Jess. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Thank you. You too. It's always good to see you and get to hang out with you. Happy New Year. How have you been?
Yeah. Happy New Year. This is probably going to be the happiest New Year that. So yeah, looking forward to it. Glad it's 2025, and we are headed into our Star Trek future, right?
Yes. Yeah, definitely a Star Trek future. The golden, what they call it, the golden age or the golden era is what we're hearing. And I am so looking forward to it. I'm here for the ride. Things have been really crazy lately, and we started the year off with a bang. Okay. Quite literally, we've been having like drones and UFOs, and it's wild because it's like the disclosure is finally starting to leak out a little bit on a grander scale, I think. And so I don't know. What do you think about all the disclosure with the UFO stuff going on right now and the drones?
Well, yeah, yeah. I sort of bounce from a lot of different genres. I do geopolitical, spiritual, cosmic, and I sort of I'm more of a hobby cryptid. I've been involved in cryptids since I was 5 years old. Between Bigfoot and UFOs, and back in those days, those were kind of the only two. You know,
Right.
but the see it's we always knew it would become more and more convoluted. We always knew that as we approach this time, there would be more and more distraction. There'd be more and more people involved, more angles at play. More people trying to get people to pay attention to their narrative rather than this narrative. It's all both by design, and it's just sort of the way the universe works. This period in history, if there's one, like if you were to pick, I got a little glare. The sun's starting to peek out. It's got a
Looks
little
like
glare
you're
going. Let me do this real quick.
it's either an aura or a ghost.
There we go.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, the sun was starting to peek out and start to glare on me. But anyway, if you were to pick and all of this stuff going on, what the single most important thing that is going on for humanity is, it is the awakening. It is the process of the ascension. And what that basically means is humanity, our type of being, it is beyond our time to graduate from a third to fourth density type being. It's not necessary, it's not a light being, but it's sort of one in between the normal human and the things that we read about, the light beings, with all of their abilities and whatnot. So it's a graduation period, and the early stages of this process are our connection to source energy, our connection to the Akashic records, the cosmic web, our ability to discern, our ability to ascertain knowledge from a higher source, not from an expert that the government says, that's not how things will start working, you see. And that is the most important thing that's taking place. It's trying to teach each human that they have the ability to have all of this knowledge without going outside and getting it from somebody else. Everyone has access to it if you're able to connect through the heart in a spiritual manner. And that's just how it works. Most people still don't believe that yet. And that's okay, because that's part of the process. You have to learn it on your own. You have to experience it. And with progress, with progression in each human, that simply will happen. Some are slower, some are faster. It's just the way it is.
Oh my gosh. Well, it seems as though a lot of people have awakened, let's just say awakened. And I like to take the example of like my sister. Bless her heart. I love my sister. But she's been, I'm not saying she's ever been closed-minded, but now I see that, I used to get snickered at, for being a Bigfoot researcher and doing all my stuff I do and talking about ghosts and Bigfoot and UFOs. And now, I gauge the public perception by my sister's perception. And I know that sounds wild, right? And shout out to Jennifer. What's up? Okay. I don't think she watches my show, so it's okay. Okay. But I kind of gauge it, and kudos to her, right? Because now she is actually sending me all this information about stuff I've known about for a long time, as far as disclosure goes. She's even had her own experience, as you were saying. You got to have your own experience seeing UFOs in the sky over the past year. Driving back and forth down the interstate, going to work and going home. She saw what she believed was like a portal that opened, and UFOs came out of it. And she called, she was in a panic. She didn't even know what to think or what to do. And she pulled the car over even. She said other people were pulling their cars over to look at it. So if she is experiencing this kind of stuff and is open to it now, I have watched that she has really progressed into an awakening, and it's beautiful.
That's
And I think,
amazing.
yeah.
That is amazing. Unfortunately, no, my family is completely clueless. They're as clueless now as they were 4 or 5 years ago. It's absolutely a lost cause. But I wanted to sort of throw something out regarding the disclosure. I know you asked me a question. I only answered part of it. The disclosure, the drones. Look, so back in maybe October of 2022, the world, let's say the leaders of the white hat groups, not the dark hats. They engaged in something called the Artemis Accords. There were leaders from all over the world that met at a moon of Jupiter called Ganymede. It's a frequent gathering place. There are interdimensional and interstar system. Imagine it being a huge. It's a moon, but it's mostly used for these types of gatherings from beings from all over different solar systems. And it's from what I understand pretty amazing. The life support systems will basically read a being's needs and supply like a bubble of whatever, if you breathe oxygen, if you breathe hydrogen, if you breathe, whatever it is, it'll supply that for you. It'll change the atmosphere, it'll change the gravity to suit each person showing up. And, as some of the beings are even water-based beings, and it surrounds them with like a water bubble, whatever. Anyway, so, it was a very important meeting. They went over a great number of things. But one of the things was regarding disclosure. It's very important to our cosmic cousins that have been involved in this, let's say, freeing this freeing battle that's been going on for, well, much longer than most of us know. It's been going on for at least 15 years underground, out in near space in this part of the solar system, basically inside Jupiter and inside. And they find it very important that we disclose to the population about them. We are their family. They want very much, for us to be aware of their existence and not be afraid of ETs. It's a big deal. And the Earth Alliance job was in this period was to start explaining to people of their existence, of our interaction with, we're talking about over 70 different races of being we've been interacting with since, late 40s, early 50s. And it grows ongoingly, and their part would be to show themselves more frequently in the skies, greatly ramping up in 2025. In the last 2 years, from what I understand from my cosmic groups, the galactics, they haven't been terribly pleased with our disclosure. We started there a little bit with David Grush and but it sort of just kind of fell off the table. All of a sudden, they quit talking about it. So they haven't been terribly pleased with that progress, and they've been trying to show themselves. So, what happened? The deep state, when the drones, the spheres, there are two different kinds of cosmic drone. Okay, there's the metallic round sphere. They're relatively small, between maybe 2 and 3 feet to maybe 6 feet in diameter. There are metallic ones, and then there are plasma energy ones. The metallic ones are drones from the Galactic Federation, The plasma energy drones are and they're probes. They're unmanned. You know, they're the plasma energy ones. Their source is from the Intergalactic Confederation. They're the Cedars. They're where the Galactic Federation deals with just this galaxy. The Intergalactic Confederation is a much larger entity, and they're also a higher density group. They're more advanced, let's say. So both of those things have been seen in the sky, as well as actual craft, scout craft. A lot of them are unmanned. And the deep state, to confuse all of that, sent up all the drones to sort of take away the luster of these sightings. Well, it's all government, you know, they're all part of the military. We know what they are, you know, to convolute the situation, as well as a few other things. Everything has multi-layers, okay? Everything you see, everything that's going on, there are multi-layers of the what's and the whys based on where the observer sits. What is your level of belief? What's your level of understanding? And that's what you will see. You know, just like the fires. The fires they're more than one thing. They're not just this or just that. They're this, and this. And a lot of times it's very confusing because of that factor. And there are more than one, you know, there's more than one phase or realm that these activities are taking place in. Okay, if that makes any sense at all, because I can't pretend that I fully understand it all. None of us do. And that's one of the most important things in this progress, in this journey, is for all of us to step back, step off the high horse, step out of the ego, and just simply admit that we are not experts at any of this. We do not know all of any of it. There's nobody out there that knows everything about Bigfoot, everything about Dogman, everything about UFOs. You simply don't. And as we learn, the more information we gain, the more we realize that there's a lot out there, and I probably shouldn't be so high horse. You know, I'm Mr. Expert on this, that, or the other. I learned that a long time ago. I know a little bit about a lot, but I can't say that I know a lot about any one specific thing.
Mm-hmm. Nick, you know, it's really funny. I just remembered I sent you the link to that video based out of, I don't know if it was Iran, somewhere in the Middle East. They did a show on Dogmen out of the Middle East, I think. Or maybe it was like Iraq or Iran. And they quoted you in that video.
Oh, yeah.
A ton of views. And it was quoting you from being on my channel. And so they quoted, I was in there too. And they called you, they said, well, self-proclaimed expert. And I was like, he never proclaimed himself to be an expert on Dogman. Yeah, but they put it in there. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was awesome. I was just like, you know, it was like a Middle Eastern derived channel. And yeah, it was interesting that out of all the people, you know, they chose to quote like me saying one thing or whatever. But it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I mean, none of us are experts on any of this, and if anybody knows me or you watch my channel, you'll know that I don't know nothing about nothing. You know, so I like to say, but I do have stories. I do have experience, and so we talk about that. And you know, my mind has been changed plenty of times live on air, talking with people, having discussions, and we have to keep an open mind about everything, because nothing is as it seems.
Well, that's the only way you can learn. That's the only way. If you do not have an open mind, you cannot possibly learn about that particular topic. You cannot. You think you might be able to, but that's not how it works. The belief structure, the psychological belief structures are very, you know, they're very, very cut and dry. And the dark forces, you know, are from the literal dark entities that aren't really physical, all the way down to our silly government. They all know this. It's very well studied on how the human psyche works. And they realize the if they build these boxes for you to live in, these belief structures, or like RJ Spina says, their belief structures are nothing except limitations. Think about that. That's all they are. If you have a box that you live in, you can't learn about any of the stuff outside that box. Your ego will not allow it. Your belief structure will not allow information to seep in. You have to first open the box in order for that to happen. And that goes for anything in life. It's funny. I mean, Jessica, because that is their number one ally. When I say there, I mean, let's just say the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, whoever we want to talk about is building these boxes and forcing you to stay in them. And that's why I kind of laugh at some of the cryptid groups. They're still very much in the realm of the Matrix. They're still playing their game. They're still very much wanting to utilize things like proof and evidence, and I'm going to prove to the government that these things really exist. Well, the government knows that, and they don't want you to prove to it. See, the government sets up specific experts in every single possible scientific field to limit the scope of knowledge. You see, if you are not them, and they're paid by them, if you are not them, you do not get to prove anything. You will be disproved. And if you become a problem enough, if you really find evidence, the evidence will disappear. And if it doesn't, they'll take it. And if you won't shut up, you'll be shut up. See, that's how the system has always worked, at least since the late 1800s. When this system really, really became all controlling, so to speak. Our job should not be to try to prove to anyone anything. Our job should be simply to study with the wonder of the universe. And as we are going through this process, these shackles are slowly being removed and thrown away, right? And that's one of the big things that with the Trump administration is we believe that those shackles will be completely removed and thrown away, and allow people like Jessica or myself or all of you out there to be able to be part of this and not be captured, so to speak, because that is the idea, is complete and utter control of all things. And most of that is knowledge. The capture and control of knowledge has always been the power of the elite. And if they have it, we have no chance. Once they lose it, that's where we go. That's where we go forward.
Oh my gosh. I was just saying, I was talking with I do 4 live shows a week, and I have the most interesting guests on, obviously. I got you here too, right? But we're talking about how I've had this conversation with a couple of different people about not, wondering like why Bigfoot's not so mainstream, and why some of the information is kept. Oh my gosh, I've never had to say that way before. But there's gatekeepers, and the information, the movies just are kind of tongue in cheek, and the TV shows, and we were kind of discussing about how I really enjoy having my channel, because I can bring real researchers on, real experiencers on. There's no, I'm not going to say we're not censored at all, because we have to change our wording to play the game with the algorithms and everything. But still, it's raw. Okay, it's raw. Everybody, you get to hear people's stories, and we're putting out. This is the disclosure right here. It is, and so I would much rather have my channel on YouTube and putting my shows on Rumble here than being on a scripted television show where you can't really disclose the truth about stuff, and it is held back by gatekeepers and things like that. But there are ways that we're kind of going around that too. Not only having my channel, my buddy Eric has a channel on YouTube called Media Palace, and he's a journalist and a Bigfoot researcher out of Texas, and he's got a Patreon, because it's actually pretty expensive to do FOIA requests, right? You have to pay for the information, as we found out with David Paulides, that stuff our government's holding back, and they are the gatekeepers to all this. They're holding back this information on Bigfoot sightings and cryptid sightings in our national parks and state parks. And he's been going and just getting 911 calls and reports, and some of it is heavily redacted when he gets it. Sometimes he's just straight up told no, that he can't get this information. The state parks are a little more open about the information. They don't redact everything, but taking those reports and then him actually being able to interview live witnesses, the ones who made those reports, and comparing the two, it's actually been really interesting watching that. And seeing how the information is suppressed pretty heavily by our government, and you got to pay for it, Nick. Money, right?
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, he's willing to play in their sandbox. I have no interest in that. I gave that up decades ago with those reports dealing with national parks, state parks, dealing with any of that stuff, 411 reports. I have absolutely no interest, because I don't care one way or another if I prove anything to anybody, and one day soon, all of that stuff is going to be gone. All of the bureaucracy, all of the red tape, all of the gatekeepers, all of the liars, all of the criminals, one day that will be gone. And, you can't really circumvent it. It's almost like, it's almost like going into Vegas and trying to get approval to cheat. It will never happen. You may spend most of your life thinking you're going to, or, well, I almost have my approval to count cards. I know I'm going to get it. Well, you're not going to get it. And that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're going through. And we simply have to understand, whose game are we playing? Do you want to play their illegal game, or do you want to create a new game that we will all play on our own? Mm-hmm. We don't need their game. You see, we don't need their reports. We don't need to prove to Congress anything. We don't need it. That's their game. And we systematically together are taking down their illegal game. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. We don't want to play their game. So let's not. We make our own game.
I am 100% on board with what you're saying, because that's what I do. I have my own game. That's why people may not know this, but I have been pretty viciously attacked by almost every community, by at least one person at every community online community. Okay. When just people saw me to my face, they wouldn't say a word to me, I'm sure. Okay, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to be a badass or anything, but I'm just saying, like, online, Nick. Okay, and so it's those people. I look at who those people are, and I'm like, well, those are the people who, first of all, and I hate saying, I'm not going to say any names, but either plants or some sort of a gatekeeper, or just people who cannot think outside the box. And I don't know if they don't want to think like. I don't want people to have to think like me. I encourage people to keep an open mind. But I put out my opinions and my thoughts, and there are a lot of people that are not ready for that, and they like it the way it is, and they want to keep it, and it's almost like crabs in a bucket, right? Like I've climbed out of the bucket, but there's like crabs trying to pull me down, and I'm trying to get the rest of the crabs out of the bucket. Y'all can climb on me to get out if you need to, but just get out of the bucket.
There are lots of flavors of those people, a lot of them aren't people. Much of that is AI. Much of that is bots.
Oh my God! Yeah.
The online opposition, so to speak. A lot of it's simply AI bots. Some of it is actual paid humans. Depending on how important you are to shut up, they'll assign actual caseworkers to discredit you. And then some of them simply are regular people like you and me that aren't able to get out of a specific box, or they think their information is more accurate than yours. but there were many flavors of those kinds of opposition that we have been facing through our whole life, I guess.
Mhm. For sure. And I wanted to go back a little bit to Eric with Media Palace. He has done fantastic work, and it is wonderful. Just to get some confirmation though, for people like myself who talk about all the Bigfoot cases and the Bigfoot sightings that we've had as my team and myself out in the national parks, and taking reports myself from state park rangers, and to actually have it on paper, it's very satisfying, to hear those kind of reports. So that's why I love it. I appreciate it. We put it out there, but we also kind of, we got to move past that too, because we got to keep it moving too, because I personally, I don't know if people like this or don't like this about me, but I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. So you don't see a lot of my evidence from out in the field on my shows. I'm just here to tell my story, and to bring other people on to talk about it. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, there's been lifetimes worth of evidence. There's been truckloads worth of evidence for hundreds and hundreds of years that's been either hidden or destroyed. I mean, there's so much evidence on all of the things that we talk about that it would literally make everyone's head spin. I can't even get into the amount of evidence that's been hidden or destroyed since virtually the beginning of time. So gathering a little bit more in my own personal book is almost silly. Other than if it makes me happy, that's sort of how I go. I'm not really interested in showing anybody anything. But yeah, so let's do. What else do you want? What kind of cryptids should we talk about? Let's maybe certain people might not know this, that the fires, the LA fires, the LA direct energy fires, very similar to Lahaina. I mean, but like I said, there's lots of layers. There's lots of reasons. There's lots of groups that are involved, all the way from the unseen, lower fourth dimensional demonics to to the groups and the Orions, to the Reptilians. I mean, everybody's sort of involved in their own sort of kind of way, and I know that's confusing, but how does it work really? I mean, well, let's just say that it goes from one level to the next, and how it works from them to us is they are able to influence the influenceable. The dark forces, and this goes from the lower fourth density demonics to the Orion groups, the tall grays, the Reptilians, and other negatively oriented service to self groups. They are, through energy, through telepathy, able to psychically influence humans that have similar issues, who are similarly negative, who are very, very egoic, very, very greedy, who may have vices. Maybe they're alcoholics, maybe they're on drugs, whatever. These are all avenues that the dark can go through. Maybe they're very, very greedy, service to self. These are all ways that these people, you can believe it or you can't, they're influenced through higher intelligence to do things. Anyway, but one of the good guy reasons that the fires happened is because there was a discovery of some reptilian hive, and these weren't necessarily Draco reptilians, but they were not necessarily benevolent reptilians that were influenced by the dark forces, by the dark groups, by some of the reptilians that are not on planet, but can still cause problems from afar. Anyway, so there were some of these groups there underneath the Palisade, Hollywood Hills areas. Some of them, from what I understand, well, I should say maybe all of them, were indigenous. They've been here for a very, very long time. They didn't just recently, fly in from space or anything. There's a great number of beings that live here in planet from reptilians to human to insectoid, to Sasquatch, Dogman. There's a number of things that are here that most people just simply cannot believe. They're not capable of believing really any of these things that we, so easily discuss. But that was something that was going on underneath those hills in California.
Well, Nick, we have several people in the live chat right now who live in that area, and have been reporting back to us over the past couple of weeks. I don't know how long these fires have been going, but it's been 2 or 3 weeks now, and I have fear for their lives at times. I know they have two. Thank goodness, Bigfoot Dwarf's in the chat, and he was going live. He works in Los Angeles and lives out there. Robin M's in the chat today. Robin's been out there too. They check in with us. They have throughout these fires, and I'm sure they are not going to sleep any better knowing that there were hives of reptilians underneath their feet. Okay, but we have covered that. That was a remote viewing target of mine a while back of the lizard people city under Los Angeles. Okay. So, some people would say, well, it was people that were humans that were living in the tunnel systems, like ants, like the ant people or something. But I think that they were actual reptilian beings.
They weren't humans. They were even more reptile than the Dracos. The Dracos are more human-like, even though they look like a giant, kind of like a dragon. But no, these were lower density than the reptilians. They weren't high level. They weren't 4th, 5th density creatures. These were 3rd density, 2nd, 3rd density, maybe 2nd density physical, 3rd density psychological. So to us, they would be more like animals rather than, what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. And then there's another group that are not that way, that are in the Arizona area, in and under, and they actually are much more human. They almost can pass as a human unless, they pull their cloak and you look and they have scales, but they're very human-like. Whereas the ones that were living under the LA basin area were much more lizard-like. If you saw them, you would think it was a giant lizard. But they're very, very, very intelligent in comparison to an animal, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. It does. Well, there's different types. And somebody in the chat was asking, are these, I want to say, like indigenous? Are they indigenous? Yeah. I can't remember that was the word, but are some of these reptilians, like, they're indigenous to this planet, right? They're not coming from a spaceship from outer space.
Now, did they get placed here 65 million years ago? Maybe. But I'm talking about in the last, let's say, 5,000 years. No, they've been here for longer than we have. Let's go there. Longer than we have, they've been there. So, but everything came from somewhere else. Every living being on this planet at one time was brought here. It was seeded here. Most planets, believe it or not, are terraformed. Most mm-hmm. planets that are livable, that have life on them, were made that way by beings. They were seeded. They were created, and life was brought down at different times. So they see how it works. Does it live? Does it die? Does it thrive? Some don't, some do. Some are left, some are brought back. It's very complicated. And there is no exact way everything works. And that is how we are here. Through many, many trials, through many, many groups, 23 different ETs over a period of maybe a couple of million years came down, did some things, put some people here, saw how they worked out. Some did, some left, some died, some stayed, some intermingled with other groups, different areas. It's very, very, very complex.
So like you said in the beginning of the show today, it's like there's not one answer to all of this. It's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And it's the same with all the fires. There's, I I mean, we're seeing, and it's pretty obvious to 99% of the people in my chat, probably 100%. They seem to be purposely set the fires. Okay, obviously, there's videos of it. I mean, you can tell these things were. That's my opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only, by the way. But it does seem that they were intentionally set. A lot of things are going on, but you're saying that there's like a multi-purpose to it. Okay, and unfortunately, I mean, that's horrible though, because there's also like innocent people losing their lives and their homes and all of that. It's just
There is.
it's kind of sad.
You know, like I said, from different vantage points, there's different reasons. You know, from a spiritual cosmic vantage point, the higher ups, the higher, the higher density beings, they see it as actual energetic imbalances in different parts of the being that they call Mother Earth, because it is actually a being. We just don't see it that way. They do. And there are certain flashpoints, just like on a human body. If you have an infection somewhere, it's going to flare up wherever that infection is. And there's been an infection underneath LA for a very, very long time. The amount of pain and suffering and agony that have been going on under those Hollywood hills, underneath the Getty, underneath a Playboy mansion, the amount of anguish and death that's been going on underneath the skin of Mother Earth has been insidious. And from their vantage point, energy must transfer. There must be a cleansing of certain areas. And I would not suspect that DC is very much further behind. You know, I would imagine something might happen there, some sort of an energy transfer. Almost like, if you have an infection, if you have a zit or a pimple, that thing's it's got to come to a head. That energy has to be cleansed, and only by that can it heal. And that is the way the higher ups see this. And there absolutely will be people that are in harm's way. It can't be helped. But, is it better than losing 50 million in a war? Yeah, it is. And sometimes the way the universe balances this unbalanced energy will take the place of the need for a war. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like a peace offering. Allow this to happen in California, and it may save 10 million somewhere else if you keep this bottled up. And it's extremely hard looking at it from a higher perspective, but that's the way things work from top down. That is the way energy is delivered. That is simply the way it works. And again, do I understand all of it? No, just tidbits, just a little bit of it at a time. And that's, unfortunately, we're going to have to accept some of these, because will we get definitive answers for a lot of this? We won't. We will have to ascertain this information from the Akashic records, from our, through our own methods, because the government will never simply come out and say, all right, okay, we're going to tell you exactly what happened, how it all worked, who set this, the reasons. Those things are not going to happen. So probably maybe not wait for them.
I know. I think I've asked you that just about every time we've done a show together. I'm like, well, when are they going to parade out some Bigfoots on a stage, or a Dogman? When is that ever going to happen? Probably never, unfortunately. And I got to say, I was actually kind of joking around. The last show I did, I was like, one day if I ever strike it rich, I'm never going to say anything, but there will be signs. And if you see me walking around with a security detail full of men that look kind of wolfish, don't ask questions. Okay, you're gonna know. I've got my werewolf security team. Okay, one day.
No, you know what,
But,
Jess? I do believe that there's going to be the disclosure in some of those ways. You know, I know for a fact that the ET disclosure will be absolute. You know, I'm talking about the things that a lot of the things that the government did, the really, really bad things. Many of those things will not be disclosed. You know, but will ETs walk among us? Absolutely. You know, but will we officially find out all the nasty bad things that some of the dark ones did? Not officially. No, we will not. There's certain things that other bits of the government can be implicated in that will not be let out. All of the abductions, those types of things that the government was involved in willingly, many of those things will not be official.
you know, I've been thinking about it because, you know, we're kind of touching on the trafficking situation that we've had, the human trafficking. I know I used to be part of a group. I actually was a director of a state agency for women, and we covered women and children's issues. And I got on a board of a group in Atlanta that dealt with child sex trafficking. Okay, and I never even knew the enormity of it. I didn't know, like, I mean, this was back in the early 2000s when this happened, when I was on that. And that's how I learned about it. So I've known very well. You know, Atlanta is one of the top spots for trafficking, actually. It really opened my mind to all of this, and I've always been fully aware of it. But now that you know, I don't work in that field anymore. Here I am talking about cryptids and Bigfoot and going out in the field and doing all this stuff, and I'm dealing with like all these missing people out of these national parks, in our epidemic of all these, you know, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of missing people in our country every year. Those are the ones that are documented. It's like, well, I don't know. I hate to like segue into this, but like, I think you and I have talked about this before. Could cryptids be used for like the kidnapping of some of these people and taken down into like facilities underground and experimented on and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, you know, not the majority. Okay. They're too difficult to work with. You know, they're too difficult and too expensive to create, to breed and to train just to do simple things like that. You know, no, those are human activities. You know, are there cryptids that make people disappear? Well, sure. You know, but we're talking about, you know, Dogmen alone, according to some of the documents from or the testimony from Victor's groups and similar groups. I mean, we're talking about in the low hundreds in a year. You know, maybe 300 or 400 people, maybe, you know, attacked and killed by a Dogman. But we're talking about millions of people that are run through these trafficking groups. No, you know, there are high level targets that some of the cryptids are used for. You know, the Dogmen are used for, the werewolves are used for. It's an individual person, but by and large, that's not what these high level beings are used for, so to speak.
Okay, that makes sense. You know, I bring people on the show. Sometimes we talk about the use of the Dogmen. You and I probably talked about it, but the werewolves and the Dogmen potentially in wartime scenarios,
sure.
Things like that. So
very specialized, very specialized use. Yes, most, I would say 99.9% of the military, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marines, the guys, they have no concept these things exist. Zero concept. Even guys on the team that are involved in the insertion of these werewolves or dogmen, whichever they choose to use, they usually use a team of 2 or maybe 3 of these beings. Only a couple are able to know of their existence, a couple of handlers. Everyone else is completely compartmentalized. And you know, if you ask any of those guys if that's true, they'd be like, you're out of your freaking mind. Of course that's not true, but it is. There's nothing the government is better at than secrets. and being able to keep people out of the know that don't need to be in the know. So,
That's
you know,
above the pay grade, huh? You always hear that. Well, that's above my pay grade. People aren't written into the programs and stuff, and that makes all total sense. And I mean, even when it comes to like the giant of Kandahar and things like that, you know, it gives all that plausible deniability too. It's like, well, I don't know anything about that. That's above my pay grade, you know. So,
well, absolutely, because they understand military justice. They understand that a higher up can basically just say, okay, well, now that you've seen that, you're going to have to go to jail, and we'll figure out a reason for it later. I mean, they understand the consequences, and it's much easier to just say, don't know nothing about it, you know, if they do. But I mean, yeah, there's the giants. I mean, there's been giants of every shape and size walking this earth since, I don't know, a million years ago, anywhere from 8 feet, probably all the way up. From what I understand, there was some that were supposedly 60 feet at one time in a period in history that, you know, that we found 60 feet. So, and everywhere in between.
Damn, 60 feet. I mean, we're like little ants. The humans are the little people. I've always said that. I think that we're the little people, for sure.
The little people.
I gotta say, we have at least 2 people that I know that might have some information about, you know, or firsthand experience, let's just say, with underground facilities, cryptids, even handling dogmen potentially, things like that. I see y'all in here. I know who y'all are. Okay. And so, yeah, and it was really crazy, Nick. I had somebody contact me that said that actual werewolves watch my show. They watch my shows. Okay. So, it's not like it's changing the way I talk about this, but I'm just saying, you know, somebody sent me an email saying that they actually watch so they can get help and information.
I would absolutely not doubt that. I wouldn't imagine Dogmen, from what Victor talks about, the IQ is like 60 or 70. You know, they're much more animalistic in our eyes. You know, they're usually less intelligent than an even below average human. But from what he has measured over the 30 plus years is the werewolf, their intelligence by and large is a little more than an average human, about 100 IQ, give or take. They easily are taught to read, speak. You know, some of them are quite intelligent, and I would absolutely not doubt that type of thing can go on.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm cool with it. You guys tune in, everybody. Hairy or not hairy, whatever. I like you all. Okay, and everybody's welcome here. Okay, but it, you know, it makes you think. It's like, okay, well, I've got actual werewolves watching my show, or people that turn into werewolves and things like that. And I need to be really careful about when I talk about when I'm going to be out in the woods. Like I never give that information out. Okay, because I don't want to. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to meet a werewolf out there, but I don't want one hunting me down either.
Well, just like people, you know, I mean, there's a small percentage of them there are out for no good. You know, I would imagine most of them out there are good beings, but there are some that work for the wrong side or are just not completely balanced. And, you know, those are the ones that could cause you a problem.
Yeah. Well, I've already met some crazy. Listen, I've had my experiences with crazy humans already, so I know I've been able to handle the humans, but I don't know about something that's like a werewolf.
Truthfully, Jess, I mean, after this is all said and done, I mean, I've been kind of in the background, kind of working on thoughts and maybe ideas on how will we unify with these beings. You know, how will that take place? And what can we do to gain their trust and vice versa? That should be what we're doing here. We should be trying to understand, you know, maybe what they've been through and try to figure out a way to, like I said, unify, work together against the bad guys, whatever they might look like. you know?
I'm all for that, for sure. Renee's in the chat. Hey, Renee. He says, the thing is, he's talking about werewolves. Their instincts are far superior and they mind read emotions, which makes it very taxing on the handlers. Just saying. Yeah.
Hang on, let me read that real quick.
Okay.
Let's
Do you want me to read
see.
it out loud?
Instincts are far superior and they mind read emotions, which makes mind read. I didn't hear what you said.
Telepathy, or that they can read your mind. They can read your mind. And so yeah, so you have to have really good mind control. Now, Nick, I think you and I talked about a while back about some of these werewolves or dogmen, if they're in some kind of program, they might have like MK Ultra mind control done to them.
Of course.
Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, absolutely. These breeding program werewolf dogmen, they're mind controlled since the time they're born. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not tortured and treated badly. They would be treated very much like a soldier that's raised from birth. They have objectives and they are taught in every aspect of the word, from the way they walk, the way they talk, if they talk, the way they act, what they do. I mean, absolutely, they're completely controlled. And again, I'm not an expert on every in and out, but it absolutely would be considered in our eyes mind control. That they are bred for a specific purpose. They are a government asset, the very expensive government asset, and that is how they're treated. They're treated well, but and I want to make sure people understand out there that this is just a percentage of the dogmen, the werewolves, they exist on the planet. Most of them are wild. Most of them are not what we're talking about right now. Most of them are very undocumented. Most of them, the wild ones, you're not going to ever see. You're not going to ever come upon them. It's usually the ones that have been in the programs that have gone rogue, or that have problems because of the programs, that maybe aren't so great at hunting. They're just different beings. The other ones, the natural ones, they stay undetected. I mean, you can imagine their abilities, their sense of smell, sight, hearing, and they have other abilities to detect technology, so to speak. And they're extraordinarily intelligent. So you're not going to happen upon one of those. If you see one, they want you to see them. And they're normally the ones, from what I understand, the ones that have been in program.
Wow, that's fantastic. Great information right there. And one of the first things that the head of one of my research teams did when I first started doing all the field research was he started teaching us remote viewing. And it's not just to do remote viewing, it's to get our minds right for doing all this and to learn about our psychic abilities, to work out our psychic muscles, to work on telepathy amongst the world, everybody, everything that's out there, because we're learning that a lot of these cryptids and ETs, they do communicate telepathically and they can read your mind. And well, how about this? How about we read their minds too? Okay, so anyways, we won't go into that lecture today, but it's a very important tool to have in your tool belt when you're out in the field dealing with things like cryptids.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, you definitely have to be in the right mindset. You can't be out there like a hunter. You have to be out there almost like you're one with everything. The unity is what's very, very important. That sense of being, that sense of calmness. But if you're out there, I'm going to give some evidence and I'm going to, you might have more trouble that way than a different method. And that's just, one person's opinion, but
There's nothing wrong with
eventually
that,
we're,
y'all.
you know,
I know we got a lot of Bigfooters in the chat and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. The evidence is fantastic, and there's nothing like taking a casting of a Bigfoot gigantic footprint and having that to put on your wall or in your cabinet. Okay, and it's fantastic. It's awesome. But you know, we're talking about some like next level stuff today too. Okay, so that's where Nick and I are. We're on this next level.
Yeah, that's what I do. You know,
Yes.
I mean, think about it.
I'm right there with you. Listen, I'm a teeter-totter between the two because I'm a field researcher, but we're already past all that with my team.
I know.
So we don't do that, but I have to teeter-tot between the both, you know, to bridge, right, Nick?
I absolutely understand, and I appreciate that, Jess, because there are all people at all different levels. You know,
right.
we would rather kind of say, well, how would Bigfoot feel about the things that we do? You know, Sasquatch. You know, I mean, these beings are extraordinarily spiritual beings. You know, much more so than any of us really understand at this point. You know, one day we will, I think, but that's kind of how I go in looking at it. You know, they're not there for our amusement. You know, they're not there for our poking around, and you know, that's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah. No, you're totally right, and that's why we have the utmost respect for all the cryptids out there, for all the Bigfoots and forest people and everything. But they have a purpose. They were probably here before we were. Okay, out there, and just like a lot of these cryptids, as we call them. I wonder if we're cryptids to them. I wonder they call us cryptids.
No, we're probably a pain in the ass to them. So
yeah, they hide from us.
Give me one more topic before you have to go and do your thing. What else do we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about anything. Let's see what. Well, I was thinking about talking about. Well, you're into Space Force, you're right. Like I don't know your connections exactly to Space Force and stuff, but I was thinking about maybe like hybrid programs and things like that. I haven't talked about that in a while. I mean, or we can talk about crypto.
I know we don't have a heap of time. I mean, the last bit of information in regards to the hybrid topic would be in regards to the hybrid topic where I mean, a lot of your people are aware of over the say 75 last years where there has been a hybridization going on between the gray species, actually more than one of the gray species and the human. So they're hybridized human gray. And what the plan was, and this is debatable, this is arguable, but what we believe the plan was to, for the most part, replace regular humans with the hybridized human that did not. Now, the ones I'm talking about did not contain the soul, the human soul. In place of the soul would have been basically an AI hive mind type database, we'll call it. Brain, but it's more than that. Anyway, so I mean, we're talking millions over the years, and they were creating an army of these semi-human, semi-slave, hive mind type beings. These beings were kept off planet for the right time to come and populate the planet. And part of the guise was they were going to convince us to accept these beings as future Earthlings. Okay. And we were going to welcome them and no. And one thing that led to another. They would increase in size. We would decrease in size and whatever. Well, recently, from what I understand, through Elena Denon and some other contacts, this group of hybrids was found and had to be destroyed. They were hidden by the dark in a sort of void in between dimensions, on these space carriers, sort of in stasis for when they needed them, right? and I guess that they were rigged with antimatter type device explosives, and if it was tampered with, whatever, it'd kill everybody. But from what I understand, that they had to be dealt with and destroyed, in these dimensional voids. And so I guess that group is no more, which is, it's good news, but it's also kind of sad news, because they're still, living beings, and it took a great amount of effort to create them. But I mean, that's sort of the latest on that group. Now, there are other different kind of human gray hybrids that actually had a soul, that were not grown, but they were birthed from abducted mothers. It was a different process. There were many, many, many processes, and many of those beings had been rescued and are off planet elsewhere being cared for, because here we do not have the ability, the knowledge, the infrastructure to care for them on Earth, at least not now. But that group that has more of a human connection, they are elsewhere being cared for properly, from what I understand.
Oh my gosh. So the purpose of that program was to just replace all the humans with hybrids? Oh my gosh.
By and large, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I've the more that I've been talking with people, and I've been in these communities, and I never really talked too much. Well, I didn't talk about even my Bigfoot experience for 10 years after I started doing my research. But after I started researching, I started getting visited by ETs, and I have to kind of assume, in a way, like I might have been part of those programs, or maybe I am still. I don't know, because I have had close encounters, contact with ETs in my house, at least on 2 occasions that I remember. And wow. So, but I'm connecting with other people. A lot of people that watch our shows, and people that I work with, they've had similar encounters too. I think there's a lot of people that have been part of these programs, and either you don't know it, or you do, you're suspicious of it, but we've been mind wiped or something.
Well, I mean, I can tell people for a fact that only a very small percentage of the people that have been involved know that they've been involved. Mm-hmm. 2, 3, 4% maybe now actually know. So the ones you come to see, the whistleblowers, the insiders, the ones that have their memory, it's very small. Many of us, 90+% of us, we're just people. We don't know. We have no idea that we may or may not have been off planet. We may or may not have been involved in these programs. We simply don't know yet. And it may stay that way through this lifetime. It may not, but I don't know that. So I wouldn't be surprised, Jess.
Well, I've always gotten the downloads. I get a lot of downloads, and I just know things somehow. And I'm trusting my knowing now at this point. And I did sign up for this. Whatever this is, whatever's happening to me, I signed up for the Wild and Crazy Life this lifetime. Full throttle, pedal to the metal. And also I probably, whatever's happening, like on that aspect, that angle, I signed up for that. Yeah. So I'm here for it. So, and I know that, I just have a knowing of it. And it gives me comfort, I guess.
There's no doubt. None of us are pretenders. None of us didn't sign up for this and just decided recently, I'm going to go do this. We wouldn't have the capability. You have to have a certain knowing. And many aren't involved in this particular process that we're in. The majority of the planet, they are not involved like we are, but they're still involved in the human process, the human journey, the human ascension, the awakening. They might not have signed up to be an integral part like we have for the last X number of years. We are in the minority, and that's how it was supposed to be. But there's no doubt that you and I are definitely, we signed up for it. we were just like, oh crap, here we go. All right, let's do it. You know what I mean? So that is how it works.
Yeah, Nick, you and I probably were like, hey, let's meet up down on Earth, and we'll do some podcasts one day together talking about this when the time is right. So yeah, I have no doubt. I know. I know that my remote viewing team, a lot of those guys, I think some of us even have memories of like living past lives together and stuff, like being like part of a group or a team or something. It's wild.
Well, it is, you know, especially when you try to figure it out, because it's not really past lives, because all timelines are happening simultaneously. You know, I mean, it's no more a past life than it is a future life. It's basically a parallel life, one that is going on right now. And we do have the ability to skip from timeline to timeline. And we do that frequently in our astral, you know, during sleep. You know, there are things that are normal dreams. And then there are things where we, our soul body will become untethered to the body, and it will be able to jump into other versions of our lives that are going on simultaneously to right now. And that is how in the future, when we become higher level beings, we'll be able to do that, you know, all the time. And the higher density beings, that's how they travel through time, because it's not really through time. Time, space, and space time are very, very complex things. But yes, we do it. We just aren't given the blueprint exactly on how it works, and it's frustrating. You know, we just have to take with what we're given and work with that and move forward, right?
Well, I mean, I've learned to go with the flow with everything in my life, and not to push against it, and just have fun, embrace the suck. This world is totally crazy, and I have dealt with the craziest of the crazy, and I'm talking about from people to events to whatever, and I'm just we're not here for very long. I know we're not, and so we've got work to do. So I just, you know, if I get a hunch and my gut says to do something, I do it. And it's worked out well for me so far. It has. I'm hanging out with you, Nick. I mean, I'm doing something right?
No, no, vice versa. But you are definitely a warrior, Jess. You're definitely one of the good guys. You're tough. You're a badass. You know, I really respect what you do. They're you know, very much so. A lot of props, a lot of street cred to you, and I enjoy hanging out with you. I enjoy talking with you got a fantastic following of very smart people, very informed people, and they really care. I mean, I can tell from the, you know, we've done lots of shows. I've seen lots of comments, and I can tell that they're truly invested in this whole process, whatever you want to call it. And that makes a difference, because this all is about learning to go from the head and start living through the heart, going from the third chakra to the fourth chakra, the fourth energy center. I mean, that's what this really is. And, you know, you don't lead yourself anymore through your brain, through your ego. The ego is sort of almost the enemy at this point in the game. You know, it was important back in the olden days. It's not important anymore. You need to get away from that. And you need to start being led through your heart and just doing the right things in each aspect of your life, whatever that is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, you got to know the difference between what's right and what's wrong, what's good and bad, what's dark and light. And we're seeing that there's been such a polarization now of the dark and the light, and we're seeing it, and it's right in our faces. And so, yeah, just live through your heart. Well, and use your mind too, though. Okay, don't be stupid, y'all. But yeah, lead with your heart, and do what you love, and work to be your authentic self. And you know, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So
we are.
Yeah.
This is a massive choice point, ladies and gentlemen. An enormous, the greatest in history, the greatest in human history is right here, right now. And the dark forces are giving you so much to choose from. all of the glamour and the glitz and the movie stars and the elites and the greed and the sex and they're giving you all of these things. Please choose me, when those are not the choices to be made right now, but you're given the choice, free will, service to self, service to others. There's two. You choose one or you choose the other. You're not being allowed to stay on the fence. That's what all this crazy crap is about. It's about you are being forced to make your choice and then live with that choice. So don't take it lightly.
No, do not take it lightly. Your mission, should you choose it, everyone, is to get out there and live authentically and choose the light. Okay, just be the light. Okay, just be the light, and shine it for others, because we're waking people up. If I woke my sister up, I'm not saying I woke her up, but I'm just saying, if I can do it, y'all can do it. I'm just saying. And oh my God, Nick, this has been fantastic. I wanted to thank everybody before we go today for all of the support. Oh my gosh. Terry Brown, thank you so much for being here. Tales of the Sonic Voyage. You guys go follow him on YouTube. You've given 2 super stickers today. I want to thank you so much for your support, Terry. It's great to see you here. It says, thanks, Jessica and Nick. Great show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I appreciate that so much. And also, we had a lot of people gifting channel memberships today as well. And we had Midwest Night Watchers. Thank you, Garrel and Jane. Y'all are the best. They gifted 5 Cryptid Huntress memberships. Caleb Jade is in the chat. What's up, Caleb? He gifted a membership as well. And Maureen and Gus, the girl in her gong. Also, moderators as well. What's up, y'all? I gifted 5 channel memberships today. So thank you guys so much. The support is just fantastic from everybody. So, Nick, can you tell the audience where they can find you? You've got that fantastic show on Rumble with your buddy Dylan. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan and I, we haven't been doing as many shows lately. He's been busy. I've been busy. I've had internet problems. I don't have Starlink yet. But yeah, on Rumble, it's called The Bridge with Nick and Dylan. I'm starting a brand new, similar kind of a spiritual show with my wonderful, beautiful friend Rihanna. That's on YouTube, and the website is called Amarea Earth. Actually, you know what? That's what I was going to do. I was going to link you, Jess, but I totally flaked because I was trying to get my phone to work this morning. But I'll link you, and maybe you can put it on the video, because we're just starting that. It's sort of like a similar to Dylan and I, but we're going kind of what the future looks like rather than so much, let's talk about Intel. Let's talk about the past. Let's talk about all the bad things they're doing to us. Not like Dylan and I do, but it's sort of a continuation. But anyway, so yeah, I'll do that. And I just appreciate everyone being here and supporting what Jess does and what I do. And let's keep learning.
Shoot, yeah, well, that's what we're doing. We're keep on keeping on. This is what I was going to say. 0 Point Energy 3333. Thank you so much for that super sticker. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I saw those. I think you were commenting about remote viewing too. And yes, well, you guys, that reminds me, I have a show on remote viewing tomorrow night. Arkeem Ra, you guys will know him from the Secret Space program. He was part of Project Phoenix and the Montauk Project. He has given me a blind target. I don't know what it is yet. Okay. I have done the target. I don't know what it is. And so he hasn't told me. As soon as I find out what that target is, I'll post that show for tomorrow night. We'll be back here at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific, 7 Central. I don't know. Pick your time zone, y'all, and figure it out. Okay. But it'll be 8 o'clock my time. So, so yeah, Nick, thank you so much for being here today. I've learned so much from you today. Seriously. And
my
it's
pleasure.
just fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Well, promise me you'll come back soon. Okay.
I'll always come back. I'll always come back. I like hanging with you guys, and it's a good time. It's very much enjoyable.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, well, everybody, thank y'all so much for being here today. Keep your vibrations high, as Jane Chiro Sound says all the time. Keep your vibrations high, and keep your head on a swivel, everybody. We are living in crazy times. Stay safe out there, but don't live in fear. That's the big thing. Don't live in fear, and follow your dreams, everybody. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. We'll see you guys. We'll see you, Nick, over on Rumble. You guys have a great day, and stay safe. Bye.